everyone. So in this tutorial I will guide you like how we can use the HTTP interface with the recently introduced REST client. So for using this, basically if we talked about the version of this one, like how we are going to achieve this one, how we are going to get this new functionalities over here. So for this, basically the functionalities we are talking about to use that is introduced in Spring Framework 6.1. This version of Spring Framework is basically consumed by Spring Boot 3.2 and the later version of this. Like as you can see over here, for basically if we want to create any kind of Spring Boot project, so the best option to create the project from the Spring Initializer. So over here we can choose the version, like what version basically we are going to choose for creating the Spring Boot project. So as you can see over here, so this is from here basically we can choose the Spring Boot version. So it gives us like the few options over here, more of the options over here. So from here we can choose the versions, like what version basically we are going to choose over here. So as I am going to use the Spring Boot version as 3.2.3, so that means I am also getting, means I can able to use the functionalities of the REST client. So this is very important actually that we are going to demonstrate over here. Make sure like if you are also like want to develop in your own machine, so that you need to like for making the compatible with all this kind of software, you need to like need all this use this one Spring Boot 3.2 and the later version of it is okay. So you need to like follow till end for this tutorial so that you can understand like what are the complete things, like how it is working and all. Else like you will, if you want to skip this one, then maybe you will miss something important things over here. So here I will focus on a like Spring Boot application that talk with some another API. So we will writing a REST client implementation to understand the code required to make its connections. Then like as an alternative approach, we will also look at like how the HTTP interface also can simplify the code, right? So this is the basically main focus we will do over here in this session. Even also we can ask like why you are going to use this HTTP interface. So like we can say like if we want to use a Spring Boot application, then we need to talk with some another services. So there are actually few different ways to do, right? Like there are a lot of options actually for connectivity with the some another services. But the thing is that we like we could use the recently REST client to make the connections, and then like also we need to write the code ourselves, right? But if we interested to write the less code and we want to achieve the same, like we want to connect the another services with writing the less of code, or almost we can say almost with no code, then the option is to consider using the HTTP interface, right? So for first of all, like we will create the one project like a Spring Boot project, and then we will like create those implementation, like how we are going to achieve those things. So for creating those project like Spring Boot project, basically I've used this as dependencies to like Maven, then Java. So as Java version I used the 17. You can also use the like 21. There's no harm with this one. And Spring Boot version as 3.2.3. Okay, because we are going to use the newly introduced feature of this one 3.2.3 REST client and the HTTP interface. As a dependency, we don't want to add any kind of the extra dependencies over here for achieve like for getting those functionalities, because Spring Boot and this Spring DevTools latest Spring Boot already having those features. So why actually we are going to use these Spring Boot dependencies over here? Because we are going to did some kind of RESTful APIs, or maybe if we want to the Spring MVC, Tomcat default MVC server. So that's why it's basically needed. And DevTools, basically if we are using this Spring Boot DevTools to automatically deploy the application each time, so actually it's basically save our work, right? That means uh, we need to only start the application once and don't need to worry about the means continuously stopping and the restarting as we are making the changes. So it will automatically taken care by these DevTools. So once we have added this one, and also I have defined this artifact name, description, all those things. So after that, once we generate this one, so it generates some like a project like using kind of what you can say is as a zip. Then after extract, I have import this one as a like Maven project. So after that it will look like. So next basically after like imported over here as a Maven project, Okay, so we will do the kind of actual implementation. Prior to Spring Boot 3.2 and Spring Framework 6.1, HTTP interface functionality is provided by the Spring always use the reactive web client. So because of this, Spring required a reactive web dependencies to bring in the web flux. You know, like previously, like before this 3.2 Spring Boot, or we can see Spring Framework 6, HTTP interface functionality is provided by the Spring always use the reactive web client. Because of this, basically Spring required to we need to use the web flux and all those things. But here, after 3.2 and the later on version of this, there is a no longer required in this case. So Spring like can now determine what type of applications we need to use to appropriate implementations when we are working with the HTTP interface. If like we want to use the Spring web flux, then HTTP interface use web client. If we want to use the Spring MVC and write an interactive applications, as you can do over here, I will explain over here. So HTTP interface uses the new REST client implementation. So in this way, basically, this is another approach that we have over here. Okay. So for creating this particular project, okay, we will create some kind of clients like REST client, and one is the HTTP client, and then the controller, and from the controller basically we will call those clients so that we can connect with some other like other services or other APIs, external APIs. So for talking actually from the outside services, like we will done with the REST client as well as the like HTTP client also, but also like as a external user. So here I'm going to use the JSON placeholder. This is a kind of like provide the mock services, basically we can say. Here you can see like it's provide already some URLs over here. For example, like if we want to see the comments, like as it is written as the 500 comments, then also we can search by the comments. Like if we click this one, so this is the basically this is the URL. If we call this one, then we don't need to need any kind of pass the authentication and those kind of things. So we will for checking the connectivity from using the REST client or maybe using the HTTP interface. So we will use this kind of, this is the base APIs basically, and using this we can like it is a mock kind of service. It will return us kind of mock data, and also we'll write this kind of services so that we can connect with these APIs and we can get the data, right? So this is basically that we are going to like try to get some data using this REST client and the HTTP interface. So for that basically we need some kind of details over here, like as you can see, like maybe posts or comments if we say. So this particular we need to create one detail, like it's having a post ID, name, email and body. So we will create and we will connect to as a like in the REST client. So we will check like how it is working. So let's create the coding. Let's do the coding for this one. So for writing the code over here, so first of all, we need to create some like user REST client so that we can create our own client over here. We can define our own client. So here, let me create one class. Okay, let me create one class over here, which is basically we can say like we can give any name over here. So let's say like user REST client for the time being, so that we can easily understand, like because using the name we can easily identify the functionalities of it. Now over here we are going to create one REST client object over here. This object can be like we can initiate instantiation by using a REST client dot builder object and inject it into the constructor. So how we are going to do this one, like we can like create the constructor over here, this one, and in the constructor basically we can inject like rest client this one dot builder, this one. Okay, so this one we can inject over the constructor. Over here inside of this constructor basically we need to create one, like here create one object, and we can mention it as a final, so that we can initialize only within the constructor, because final variable either we can initialize in the whenever we are creating the instance or in the constructor. So here basically we can create one final variable of rest client equals to rest client over here, and then like this dot rest client equals to builder dot. So here basically we can provide the base URL, means whatever the external service that we are going to connect for maybe fetching data or maybe want to save or update data. So that particular base URL we need to define over here. So for us the base URL would be this one, right? Because we are going to connect this one, so the base URL would be this one. This is the base URL. Okay, this will be the base URL. So this particular URL we need to define over here. Okay, next basically once we provide the base URL, then we need to say build. Okay, so in this way basically we can define this one. So now we defined our own REST client. So in the REST client.builder, we are specifying the base URL. Whenever we're going to create any new services, that particular we need to only means define the like that the what API basically we are going to fetch from this particular base URI. For example, this is the base URI. Now from this URI basically we want to call this comments. So this whenever you're going to create any method, like for example find all comments, then we need to define only this particular comments in the URI. I'll show you, let me create one method which will basically find all comments from the this particular service. So public, let me create as a void get all comments. Okay, so it will not take any input parameter, because it will be like kind of we are fetching all the comments from the this particular URI, so we don't need any input. So REST client, not this one, the particular object that we have created over here, dot we are going to create a get. So this will be a get, then we need to provide the URI that actually I was talking about, and here we are going to pass this particular this one. Okay, these commands. Okay, this I am going to define over here, comments URI. Okay, and then we need to whatever the output it will be then retrieved, we need to do the retrieve, and then we need to in a body we need to pass, means we need to get the output, right? So new parameterized type reference. Okay, yeah, type safety, so we need to define this one. Okay, and okay, so then we need to return this, so it will return basically list of comments, right? So for that we need to create one record over here. We need to create one record over here, record. So let's say as we are if you're trying to fetching the comments from this particular service, so let's the DTO name is as a comment DTO, or maybe yeah, comment DTO is fine. So what kind of input it will we need to define over here, we need to define this post ID, so it will be a integer, and these are the IDs. So let me just then post ID, it will be an integer, so int post ID comma int ID comma string name comma string email. comma string body. Okay, so we have now it is not required. So we have created this DTO now. Now we need to return this one, return from over here. So obviously it will return, instead of the object we will do return list of comment, list of comment. Okay, comment DTO, this one. Okay, so it is now fine. That means it will return all the means comments from this particular thing, from this API. Now if we want to fetch only like based on the ID, means only comments, so find comments by ID, find comment by ID. So for that basically it will means need one ID over here, integer ID, and here we need to use a path variable over here, slash this dot ID. Okay, and instead of the list basically it will return only single instance of single value, right? So that's why we need to pass comment DTO dot class. Okay, so here also we will do this one. Okay, so it will basically return only single data over here, and obviously we need to annotate this particular class as service or maybe component. Okay, so now this implementation is done. Now what we will do next, we will create one controller over here. Let's say like post controller or something related to that, post controller. Okay, so over here we are going to create the like controller, and also we are going to call this particular APIs from this user REST client. Okay, so let's say like we can annotate this particular class as a REST controller. Now here we will inject the like user REST client. So for that we can create one final value for like user REST client, for example client. Then in a constructor we need to like initialize this one, and here we need to pass this as a parameter over here, and inside of this constructor we need to initialize this one, this dot client equals to client. Okay, next what we will do over here, we will create some mapping, like for as we have created over here, like this get all and the find by ID. So these two mapping we need to create over here, like we can create one get mapping. Obviously the both APIs would be a get mapping, and we can define some like get or maybe get all comments. Okay, next we can define the method name public list of comment DTO, comment DTO get all comments. Okay, so over here using this client we can call get all comments, and we can return from over here, right? That easily we can do. Next, what method we can call over here, obviously it again a get mapping, and here we can say find by ID. Okay, and get we can find comment by this ID we can say, and here basically we need to pass this ID as a like path variable. So we need to define this at the rate path variable int as ID. Okay, and this ID we need to pass over here find, and this ID we need to pass over here. Okay, and instead of the list it will return only the single DTO because we are expecting also single DTO, right? So this is also done. Next, like if we can check this one. So how you are going to test this one? Like either we can check from the postman. So let me open this postman from over here. So I have opened the postman over here, and first of all we need to start this one. So let me start this as a Java application. So it will not take much time actually. So once it will start, then we can check from the postman because we have ready all the things. We did the code for REST client and all the things. We just need to check. Tomcat date initialize in 884, so we can check from this port, right? Let me call this one get all comments. So we are expecting we can get data over here, but we are getting 404. Okay, get all comments. Okay, let me check here. Get all comments. Get all. Okay, there is a typo actually, so I need to rectify it. Now let's see. Yeah, it's written the response over here, right? You can see post ID and all those things. So the last ID would be 15 because it's having a 50 records, ID 500 records, right? So it's written as a 500. Now if we want to like, so it is this is working now. Now if we want to this access this one only by ID, then so for example 10 ID, see it will return only the single record. Okay, it's showing 500 internal server error. Okay, not in a variable in a value. Okay, let me check. Find this one. Okay, here basically I forgot to pass this one because we need to pass this one over here as a path variable, right? So that's why also we need to pass this value over here. So that actually I forgot over here, so that's why it's causing issues. Now it will be reloaded automatically because we have used the Spring Dev tools. Okay, it's reload now. Now let us try. Yeah, now you can get the output over here, right? ID is written this. If we try with the 100, then also we'll get the data over here. Yes, it's written as the data. So this is the basically approach like for using this user REST client. So here basically if we talked about the REST client implementation over here in a user REST client, whatever we have the implementation wise, if we want to write only this like two services, then this kind of approach is acceptable, right? But if we talked about the like more APIs, we need to call the amount of code requires if we need to communicate with many different services, and each of those services have the multiple resources maybe, then this REST client approach can become very complex, right? Maybe we need to write all the things. So here basically we need to use the HTTP interface to reduce the amount of code that we need to write as of our applications. Okay, so now if we want to use the like HTTP interface instead of this HTTP client, then we need to create the kind of one interface over here, and that will be the user HTTP interface. So let me create one interface over here just similar to this one like user HTTP client, let's say, and it will be an interface. Okay, so let me create this one, and I'm for the timing I am stopping this one because else it will every time it will restart it automatically. Now over here we can use the get exchange, get mapping, get exchange. So over here we can use the get exchange for this one. Okay, and here we can define the like path like slash get all comments, not this one. So here basically we need to define this one like this. Okay. Okay, and here basically we can't, it will, what it will return, it will return list of comments, right? Comment detail, and here we can say find all comments. Okay, next what else we can do, like we can use the another get exchange for find by id like this one. Okay, now here basically it will return only single DTO instead of list, because we are searching using the like find by id only, find by id, and here we are going to use this path variable. Okay, int id. Okay, next basically we need to create one bean, actually spring bean, in any configuration of class actually. So as we already having this class, and as you can see over here, this is already having the configurations class, so that's why we can create the bean over here, or either also we can create another like configuration class and over there also create the bean, but we can also create the bean over here. Okay, so we can create the bean over here. So let me import this one, then we can create like user HTTP client, then we can create the same name over here. We can create one REST client object, client equals to REST client dot builder, this method. Then here we need to provide the base URL. So what will be the base URL? So that the similar URL that we have used over here. Okay, so this basically URL we are going to use over here. Okay, next after the base URL we can say we need to build this one. Okay, after that we need to create one HTTP service proxy factory. HTTP service proxy factory. Okay, HTTP service proxy factory service proxy factory dot build. So for we need to use this one builder for, and here we need to use the REST client adapter, this one dot create. Here we need to pass the client, and then we can use the build. Okay, and what we need to return from over here, we need to return factory dot create client, and here we need to pass this user HTTP client dot class. Okay, so this is actually bean creation is done now. So what we have done over here, we have created one bean over here for user HTTP client using the REST client builder method, and also we have provided here like the base URI of this particular whatever the like APIs we are going to like access from over here. So this is the like bean creation is done now. Now we are going to over here in the post controller, as we are using this REST client, so instead of that we are going to use the HTTP client in similar fashion. This is not required now, so instead of that we can create this one user HTTP client. Okay, and instead of that we can comment this one. We can create the constructor over here, and we need to pass this one here, and we can also use this dot client equals to this one. Okay, so here basically we need to change the method like find all comments and find by ID, I guess find by ID. Okay, these two method we need to create over here. Now for testing this one we can use the similar, we can follow the similar approach. So let me run this one. Okay, it started in 80 port. Now if we run this one, yeah, we can get the response over here, right? We're getting the 200. Let me try again. So it is working as expected, like similar fashion. Now if we want to find by ID, then it is also working, right? 105 for example, if we want to use, yeah, it's working. 104, yeah, it is working. So in this approach also it is working, it is returning the data as we are expecting. So this is the kind of approach, two approaches using the HTTP interfaces and the REST client. So here what you learn, how we are going to use the HTTP interface in Spring Boot 3.2 and Spring Framework 6.1, that we can use Spring MVC stack also with the REST client. This is one of the approach to calling the external services that we can we can say significantly reduce the amount of code that we want to write. So this is all about this Spring 3.2 Spring newly released HTTP REST client and the HTTP interfaces. If you guys have anything, please do let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Thank you. Bye bye.